नमस्कार, I am Don McLean Gill. मैं इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस और डिप्लोमेटिक अफेयर्स का ग्रेजुएट हूँ. मैं डिफेंस और इंटरनेशनल स्टडीज में अपने मास्टर्स डिग्री करांगा. You could consider me a student of Dr. Gaurav Garg's lecture, and he has given me the great opportunity to share my knowledge and experience with you all with regards to ASEAN and Indian relations. I specialize in South Asia and Southeast Asian affairs, and it is my pleasure to give you an overview of the relationship between ASEAN and India. The overview would comprise of a brief history between ASEAN and Indian relations and how it has developed over the years, followed by several examples of economic links, political links, and defense links between ASEAN and India. Now, if you have any questions after this lecture, feel free to contact me on my Facebook page, Don McLean Gill, and we could further discuss on issues with regards to ASEAN, Southeast Asia, or South Asian affairs. So let's begin. Today's topic would be about Indian-ASEAN relations. Now, just to expound, ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations, with 10 member countries: Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Now, India-ASEAN had relatively good relations up until the British invasion. Now, let us fast forward to post-independence of India, 1947. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru stressed on two pillars of Indian foreign policy. The first is non-alignment, and the second is the centrality of India's role in Asia. Now, what was perceived and assumed to be a lack of interest of India was actually a preoccupation of the several wars and conflicts India had to face post-independence. There was the Sino-Indian War of 1962 and the subsequent wars with Pakistan, and this further veered India away from the Southeast Asian region. Now, when ASEAN was formed in 1967, it didn't cause a major spark of interest, mainly because the initial perception of India was that ASEAN was pro-West. Two core members of ASEAN, namely the Philippines and Thailand, committed to U.S. military assistance through the U.S.-led Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, or SEATO. Now, such military alliances were contrary to India's non-aligned policies. However, India's non-aligned policy was compromised in the eyes of ASEAN when India signed the Indo-Soviet Treaty of Peace, Friendship, and Cooperation in 1971. In the mid-1970s, India made efforts to interact more with ASEAN. This included visits in the year 1976 by senior Indian ministers to ASEAN countries to clear doubts and negative perceptions about India. Now, these negative perceptions are basically assumptions that India did not want to address gaps that could further the relations between India and ASEAN. Now, during this time, joint ventures were also made in the economic and political level. However, these ventures weren't considered significant enough to make a huge positive change between India and ASEAN. However, India's support for Vietnam in Cambodia in the year 1978 and for USSR in Afghanistan in the year 1979 stressed the relations even more. In the year 1984, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister of India and tried to deepen relations with Southeast Asia. During the time of Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, or SAARC, was formed in 1985. Now, SAARC had several issues which hindered it from becoming a regional success, one of which was the militarization of Pakistan, and India followed suit by developing and expanding its military and defense forces. Now, this sent wrong signals to ASEAN and neighbor countries. ASEAN looked at it as if India was exerting power in the region. And what further alarmed ASEAN was that India sent peacekeeping troops to Sri Lanka in 1987 and an armed intervention in Maldives in 1988. The end of the Cold War and the resolution of the Cambodian crisis scaled down tension between India and ASEAN in the early 1990s. Now, to make amends for lost time and opportunity, India laid the framework and the foundation for engaging with ASEAN through the Look East policy of 1991. Now, this coined the liberalization of the Indian economy. Now that I've given you an overview of the early years of Indian-ASEAN relations, I would now give examples and cite the various ways India and ASEAN are now interacting in the fields of politics, economics, and military and defense. Now let's talk about the political-economic relation between India and ASEAN. India became a full ASEAN dialogue partner in the year 1995. India was then made a member of the ASEAN-led ARF, or the ASEAN Regional Forum, in the year 1996. However, other ASEAN members were quite reluctant with regards to India's membership, and it was in fact Singapore's quiet diplomacy which helped India secure a sturdy footing in ASEAN and the ARF. India has been steadfast in initiating multilateral fora to develop this relationship with ASEAN, one of which would be the India-ASEAN Business Summit. Number 2 would be the ASEAN-India Economic Linkages Task Force. Number 3 would be the 2003 Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement. The ASEAN-Indian relation grew significantly over the years. Its effectiveness can be seen as ASEAN was India's fourth largest trading partner in the year 2015. Trade between the two stood at an estimate of $76 billion in the year 2013. India was then elevated to a summit partner in the year 2002. This is a sign that the international community views India's significance, especially in Asia-Pacific. India also emphasized the significance of the India-ASEAN relation by designating an ambassador to the ASEAN in the year 2014 for the first time. Now let's talk about the defense and strategic ties between India and ASEAN. Now, a closer analysis of India's strategic engagement shows that India reopened links with selected countries in Southeast Asia, such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore, since they were seen to be traditionally friendly. What India did next was to invite senior officials of Southeast Asian countries to visit and have a first-hand experience and evaluation of the facilities. This interaction proved to be quite successful, as regular joint exercises were then held with Southeast Asian countries and of course port visits from India. The last segment would be a country-to-country assessment of India's strategic engagement. For Singapore, maritime exercises between India and Singapore started in the year 1993, anti-submarine warfare exercises since 1996, and annual naval exercises have grown from simple to advanced levels in air, land, surface, and subsurface. As most of the interaction took place in India, the one in 2005 took place in the South China Sea for the very first time. Air exercises also started in the year 2003 and were codenamed Syndex. And under MOUs, or Memorandum of Understandings, armies also conducted joint training and started in the year 2005. For Malaysia, Malaysia was one of the first Southeast Asian countries that showed deep interest in forging defense ties with India. A Memorandum of Understanding was signed in 1993 that covered a wide variety of activities such as training and joint exercises. However, these joint exercises between Malaysia and India have been quite few. For Indonesia, in the year 2001, a defense cooperation agreement between India and Indonesia seems to have moved into substantive areas of cooperation. The agreement encompassed joint efforts to ensure peace and security in the region. The Indian Navy also trains Indonesian defense personnel at its institutions in India. For Thailand, its first maritime exercises were conducted in 1995, based on an MOU between the two navies. Ever since, the two navies have been regularly training in joint exercises. For Vietnam, India and Vietnam enjoyed special relations in the mid-1970s. They came to an understanding on defense cooperation in 1994 to upgrade security dialogues. A wide range of agreements were signed in the year 2000 under a 15-point agreement. For Myanmar, India has been engaging with the ruling junta in a variety of ways. The improvement of defense cooperation came because of the problem of narcotics and the trafficking of small weapons, which pushed closer cooperation between India and Myanmar. The Philippines expresses interest in forging ties with India in the field of defense. The defense relationship was established with the signing of a defense cooperation agreement during the visit of Indian President Abdul Kalam in 2006. And that marks the end of this quick lecture. Thank you very much for your time and your consideration. I hope that you were all able to pick up some necessary information that could help you with your career and academic goals for the future and the present. I did not go too much into detail with this video because I just wanted to provide you all with an overview of India-ASEAN relations. But then again, feel free to contact me if you'd want me to discuss any other topic in line with South Asia or Southeast Asian relations. And once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Gaurav Garg for giving me this opportunity to discuss my interests and my experiences and knowledge with regards to India-ASEAN relations. Again, thank you very much and have a great day.